so fun. Sticks and stones never broke my bones. So. What up, kids? Miss Resnick here. I'm just here with a little Taylor Swift because, you know, we're about to be learning poetry and using her to help us. Let me show you what I mean. Share my screen. This is Miss Resnick, by the way. If anyone's watching this and you don't know me, I am a teacher at Heritage. So it's good to be with you. You know, well, here's Taylor, our poetry analysis tool. You know, remote learning is weird and we're away from each other, but there are little bright spots like me getting to play Taylor Swift on a call that you're gonna watch. So I know in 7th grade you guys have been working on poetry, and this week we're gonna be using this acronym, TSWIFT, as a poetry analysis tool. I know you've already done these vocabulary words: tone, structure, word choice, imagery, figurative language, and theme. But today we're going to be doing something a little more advanced with them. So the objective for today is I want to teach you how to close read a poem through different lenses in order to gain more comprehension, which means understanding. So before we go on to a poem, I just want to review a couple things with you. Number one, a lens. Like if you have glasses, these would be the lenses that you look through. When I say lens related to poetry, I mean, are we going to look through the lens of tone or structure or word choice or imagery or figurative language or theme? It's a focus. So close reading means to go back and reread a poem, not because your teachers want to make more work for you, but more because we want you to develop a really deep comprehension or understanding of the poem. And the way that you do that is by looking at it a few ways. So you may see a doc that looks something like this, and let me make this a little bit bigger. This is kind of how we're gonna think through a poem together today, here, you and I. I'm gonna show you how to do it, and then later you'll use this to check out different poems. So you can see that we've given you, this one is better than the Taylor Swift one because on hers, there's not definitions of the words. We wanted to be able to remind you what these different things are. Then we have a column for things that you notice or things that are confusing. And then we have a column for analysis. So I'm actually not gonna work on this document because I wanna have everything all together. So I'm gonna work on this document with you. So the poem that I'm going to model for you is called The Red Wheelbarrow. You should be familiar with this, and probably you remember it from Love That Dog. But just in case you forgot, let me read it to you really quick. The Red Wheelbarrow by William Carlos Williams. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Now, you can see that the TSWIFT, we don't have all of them. We only have half. I'm going to do half of them today with you and then the other half tomorrow, just so we can go a little slower. And if this were me on my own, I would not start with tone. You need to explore the poem in other ways, and tone is not a really great place to start, but structure is an awesome place to start. So structure, that's the way the poem is presented. It maybe includes how long it is, the stanza format, and the flow of the words and the ideas conveyed. So I'm gonna just write down here, and actually, even before I get to structure, I wanna just think, is there anything in this poem that's confusing? Like, even though I can read the words, is there something in here like I can't exactly picture? So for instance, that might be a wheelbarrow. We do not really live in the country, so I'm gonna look up wheelbarrow just to get a picture of what it is. And if we just go to Google Images, we can get an idea of what a wheelbarrow is. So you may have used this with your family at some point if you were like moving rocks or like on a farm. You know, this poem that we're reading, it's talking about there's chickens there. It doesn't exactly say it's a farm. And maybe there's some of you who have chickens in Berwyn or Chicago or wherever you live. I don't. And I also don't have my own wheelbarrow. So when I think of this object of wheelbarrow, and I think of chickens, my mind goes to farm. Now, the author didn't say that explicitly, so that's kind of like analysis. Analysis is when you put ideas together and then you figure some things out. So I'm just going to make a note here, and I'll put it with word choice, because word choice is when writers use specific vibrant words that engage the reader and create imagery. So wheelbarrow, item for moving things, rocks, I don't know, that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe leaves, I don't, but leaves aren't heavy, so maybe that's not a good example. I don't know, maybe chickens? Baby chickens? I'll put a question mark. I'm not totally sure. That's just like my ideas and my thinking so far. So we'll just leave it at that. Let me make this a little smaller. Okay. I don't really think there's anything else I need to look up. So much depends upon. I know that depends means like if this happens, then this thing is going to happen, or, you know, if I'm going to go running outside, it depends on the weather. Like today was rainy and I wasn't able to get outside. I didn't even go for a walk. So that's kind of what depends is. Glazed. I'm using my, what is the signpost for words where you think of other things it's related to? It's slipping my mind and I don't have my bookmark right now. Props to you if you remember it, but what the one signpost where it's like you remember something else. And so I'm thinking of a glazed donut, which would be like a donut with that syrup all over. Again, if I wasn't sure, I could go to Chrome, you know, Google or something, and I could just type in glazed and I could get a definition. But it's essentially saying that the wheelbarrow had like rainwater, like it was like on it still, like it must have just stopped raining or something like that. Okay, so now that I have the confusing things, and I forgot to put this right here. Now that I have that all solved, now I'm going to look at the structure. So what do I notice about structure? Well, there's 4 stanzas. So as a reminder, a little group of lines in a poem is not called a paragraph, it's called a stanza. There are 8 lines, and the lines are like 3 words, then 1. So you could see 3 words and 1, and 3 words and 1. Also, I noticed that wheelbarrow is a compound word. But it's split across a line break. Rainwater, and I mean white chickens, that's 2 words. Rainwater, I think rainwater might be 2 words or 1 word. So those are just things that I notice, and an analysis would be like, why did the author set it up this way? Why did the author have all of that? Like a wheelbarrow, this is a noun. Rainwater, that's a noun. Chickens is a noun. White is an adjective describing chickens. I don't know, these are things that you would think of. So I'm asking myself, like, why? Why did the author do that? The author also said so much depends upon. This is like specific word choice. It makes it seem like that's very important. You know, like if I were thinking about important things in life, I should have thought of this before I came on the video, but this is like real time, my thinking. Like what I want to show you is like poetry, even as teachers and adults, like we don't just read a poem and like get it. It like feels confusing to us at first. And so we have to kind of think through. So much depends upon, I don't know, so much depends upon school, right? Like right now we're remote learning and we're not in our buildings. Like that has changed so many things. Also, what's really important to us now is our technology. So much, if we didn't have iPads and MacBooks, we wouldn't be able to be in touch with each other. And so in a pandemic, that's very important. But this author here is writing about a wheelbarrow and chickens, and like, why is so much depend upon that? So the tone, and this is kind of why you want to save tone towards the end, you have to get some information about it. The tone is the attitude a writer has toward a subject or an audience. It's like he has this, it's so important to him, like the chickens and the wheelbarrow, like it's, so what does that tell us about him? So because the author didn't say right there, this is all analysis. So I might write something like, it seems like the wheelbarrow, oops, and the chickens are so important to this author. So I'm asking myself, why? If I go over here and I don't even know who this author is. So let's put in Carlos Williams. Let's go back. A picture is great, but let's see. He was born in 1883 and he died in 1963. Even if I just think about only that time period, the technology from 1963 was not like the technology we have today. And perhaps this author lived on a farm. There was more like rural areas back then, or he worked by a farm, or he knew people. And that maybe he's saying that, like, what do farms do? They raise animals. They raise vegetables. This feeds America. So over here in analysis, maybe farms, maybe this shows us how important farm life was to William Carlos Williams back in 1950s? Question mark? I don't know. I'm just making up some ideas here. So much depends upon, that was a line. He also says chickens. We know what a chicken is, but he says white chickens. Like, why? Like, if I go over here and I Google chickens, let's look at picture. Hopefully we don't get, you know, if I'm looking at chickens, how many of them are white? Does this mean something? I don't know. He also says in his poem, okay, so why white chickens? He also says in a red wheelbarrow, like, why red? Is it a red and a white next to each other and it's like they look a certain way about each other? I'm not really sure. It could be. So for word choice, white chickens seem, I don't know, if I look back at the pictures, it seems like white chickens, they're there, but it seems like they're not, certainly not as cool as this one. But white chickens don't seem like they're every day. Maybe it's like, seems special in some way, compared or actually contrasted against the wheelbarrow, the red wheelbarrow. I don't know. Okay, so basically you could see how what we're doing here is, this is close reading, right? Close reading means you're looking at things through a structure lens, through a what's confusing lens, then through structure, then through a lens of word choice, then through a lens of tone, and tomorrow we'll look through 3 more lenses. That's what close reading is, to look at it in different ways and to gain more understanding. I definitely have more understanding now that I thought about all of these little details than I did when I started. So if we go back to what we said we were gonna do, I wanna teach you how to close read a poem with different lenses to gain more comprehension. I think we certainly have that. These are what your slides will look like for this week. I'm sure by now you've probably already seen them. And this is what we're asking you to do. What is the tone in the red wheelbarrow? What is the structure and what is the word choice? I gave you a lot of clues. Maybe you have some more ideas, and then, you know, for your work today, you will complete this chart here after watching the video. So that's gonna be it to wrap up for today. One last time, there's our TSWIFT. Close out with a little bit of our music. I hope you've enjoyed. I would love your feedback. If I was doing something that was not helpful, please give me that feedback or a thumbs up on the YouTube video. And I'm gonna just end the sharing. Calm down, guys. It ain't that much homework, and poetry's fun, all right? And with that, Rez is out.